What's up, everybody? This is the Shoehorn podcast. Might be calling it just the Shoehorn because it's become less of a podcast than what I originally thought it was going to be when we started this out. Um, we'll just take a minute. We'll let some people get here in the chat, but mostly this show's going to be super interactional. I want you guys to leave comments what you want to talk about. We got the game coming up on Sunday. This will be my last show before the game goes on, so we want to get all your guys' predictions in. We'll kind of go through what I'm predicting for the show, and then we'll just get it going from there. As of about 15 minutes ago, just had a piece drop on horseshoehuddle.com on si.com/NFL/Colts. If you want to go check that out. It's just so the Colts every week come out with the unofficial depth chart. And they'll do that throughout the season. But kind of what I've found, just taking a look at those throughout, not just the Colts, but pretty much every team through the NFL, is it's pretty much a copy and paste template. It's not necessarily indicative of what the actual depth chart's going to look like. But I've got a piece live that went live about an hour ago on si.com. So let's pull that up. Ooh. Let's get that a little bigger. It's Shaquille in the chat saying the Houston Texans can win. Yeah, I think they could win. I'm not going to give away what my exact prediction is going to be. I'll kind of wait till the end of the show and till we wind down things with that, and then I'll kind of give my 2 cents on what I think the final score is going to look like. But absolutely, good to see you in the chat, man. I'll take some Houston Texans supporters too. I'm fine with that. Yeah, so NFL season kicked off last night. Greg in the chat saying he wants to talk about that toe last night. I should throw that up there. I should throw an image of that up there. I think everybody's probably seen it at this point. Just half an inch, maybe less, just kind of brushing the out of bounds line in the back of the end zone. Yeah, it just is what it is. I think Isaiah likely deserved that touchdown. I think Lamar Jackson deserved that touchdown for the play that they made. And they deserve to have that chance to go for 2, but I mean, just sucks that it was half an inch out of bounds there. Shaquille saying you need to stop the run. Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting going into the beginning of the game, kind of how much they lean on that run game. Kind of curious on the usage of what Anthony Richardson and JT is going to be like in the run game rather than the pass game. But yeah, I think the Texans will see a pretty healthy dose of the Indianapolis Colts run game, especially early on in the game. Got more Texans fans in the chat than Colts fans tonight. Yeah, H-Town highlights in the chat saying TBHAR is a very special talent. However, he's not very mechanically talented with his footwork and throwing. He's just a very athletic quarterback, but how far can that really get you in the league? I mean, we'll see. We'll see kind of how far that gets you. I would argue he is mechanically talented. I don't think he's mechanically consistent, which I think could lead to some accuracy issues. He could definitely make the throws for sure, but we'll see if that's coming on a consistent basis or not. Yeah, and we'll kind of see how far how that athleticism gets you. I mean, I think kind of when you're looking at what happened last year with the Colts and how they were kind of around a 500 team, just kind of scooting by the playoffs. I think just on Anthony Richardson's athleticism alone, you can get back to that point. Hopefully that he shows some progress with the consistency of his mechanics and the consistency of his accuracy there, so that you can go above that. Shaquille ready for Sunday. I think we all are, man. We've got the Packers Eagles in Sao Paulo tonight. So you got one more game. Is that the only game? Is that the last game before the 1 p.m. kick on Sunday? So you'll only have to sit through. I mean, it's good to see football's back, but man, when you're watching teams that aren't your team, you're just kind of itching that your guys were out there. Let me pull that up. Let me make sure there's no other games going on before. I feel like there's only one international game a week, right? Yep. Yeah. So we got the the Packers Eagles tonight at 8:15, exclusively on Peacock, which is a pain. And then you have all the 1 p.m. kickoffs on Sunday. Colts Texans being one of those. Britty in the chat, good to see you. Can't wait to watch the Colts team. 80 anytime touchdown lock. I was kind of thinking the same thing there. Just he's going to be used in a role that's not really what he's been used to, and kind of this whole offseason training program he was working at outside. But then he goes, Josh Downs goes down. He's missing at least this week. I did see reports he was running kind of full speed, kind of ramping up his physical activity at practice. So maybe it's only a 1 week injury, maybe a 2 week. I would say probably at most at this point, unless there's a setback that happens. But yeah, you're going to see AD Mitchell probably used heavily in the slot there. So yeah, I don't know, something underneath. I could see something underneath being taken somewhere in the red zone. When I'm thinking about it, I'm just kind of envisioning that touchdown he had in the preseason where he takes that drag underneath it and kind of scrapes into the end zone there. H-Town highlight saying that's what I meant, just consistently inconsistent. Yeah, he's excited to see it. Yeah, I think we're all excited to see it. I think whether you're a Colts fan or not, I mean, maybe as a Texans fan, you're kind of hoping secretly that he's not all that. But I think just as fans of football, you kind of want to see somebody that athletic, just kind of figure it out, just kind of see what that would do for the game. Shaquille saying CJ Stroud's great. Yeah, CJ Stroud is. I kind of like how last season Colts and Texans met in week 2, so it was still super early. And you've got these two, the second overall pick and the 4th overall pick at quarterback, and you're kind of seeing that future there. And I kind of think what CJ Stroud went and did for the Texans is what the Colts are obviously hoping for Anthony Richardson. So you kind of have a guy who went out and proved that he's already top 10 quarterback in the league. CJ Stroud is after 1 year, and then the Colts fans are kind of sitting there saying that maybe this is the guy that we've got on our team, but kind of had to delay that by a year. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see how this year plays out, to see how Anthony Richardson kind of responds to that. See if he can at least, because I think what's going to make this a rivalry, it kind of has been, kind of has not been. Maybe the intensity hasn't been to other rivalries in the NFL, but I feel like if you've got CJ Stroud and you've got Anthony Richardson also playing at a high level, you've got these two young quarterbacks that came into the league, same draft, same time, both playing at high levels in the division, meeting twice a year. I think that's what's going to make a great rivalry. So whether you're a Texans fan, whether you're a Colts fan, I think you're kind of rooting for that just because it's fun to have those high stakes games, I think. But yeah, I published this piece here. I was saying the unofficial depth charts that the Colts release, and probably every NFL team release, not much changes week to week. It's not going to be reflecting for injury unless it's like a long-term injury. So I'm kind of trying to go off of the injury report that we're seeing week to week and kind of see what we'll actually expect when the game kicks off on Sundays. So offense, not really going to see much surprising. Kind of the guys that you've been seeing work at their positions are kind of in those positions, and they're kind of in that pecking order that they've been since the start of training camp, start of preseason. With the one exception there being in the wide receiver room, Josh Downs going down with that injury about a month ago, early August, and then AD Mitchell kind of taking those slot snaps. So they've got Alec Pierce, Michael Pittman Jr., and Adonai Mitchell. I think those are the top 3 guys that they're going to get in terms of just snap count. So whether it was, no matter who went down or what position went down, I think you're going to see like those top guys take those slots. So in this case, it being the slot. So, I mean, you have a natural backup at the slot for Josh Downs and Anthony Gould. But when you've got AD Mitchell on the roster and you're trying to kind of itch to get him snaps and get him involved in the game, I think then as long as he kind of has that ability, which he's shown in the past 2 weeks to slide into that slot role and at least be somewhat effective, then you kind of want to get him on that field for that explosive aspect. Tight ends, kind of what we've been seeing with those 4 guys. I think Mo Alley-Cox and Kylan Granson are going to be the top 2. Mo Alley-Cox kind of more as that blocking tight end, and then Kylan Granson as that move guy. And then you've got Ogletree and Mallory, who I think will sprinkle in and get some snaps. But I think, yeah, especially week 1 here with all these guys healthy, I think you're going to see a healthy dose of Mo Alley Cox and Kylan Granson. And then the offensive line has been the same starting 5 since the offseason began, or since week 1 of last season. So you're not really seeing any changes there. And then the only thing that you're thinking is if somebody has to come out for a while or goes down with a more serious injury, then you're just kind of looking at these depth pieces, new pieces like Dalton Tucker and Tanner Bortolini and Matt Gonsalves. Just kind of seeing if they're ahead or behind in the pecking order when it comes to depth guys. So if you have someone on the interior go down, is it Danny Pinter that's going to come in? Does that depend if it's just Ryan Kelly or if it's one of the 2 guards? And then whether one of the tackles needs subbed in or subbed out. If Braden Smith or Bernard Ryman need a breather or go down with an injury, is it Blake Freeland that's coming in, or is it Matt Gonsalves coming in? Kind of how they have it listed right now is Gonsalves is that backup at left tackle and Blake Freeland that backup at right tackle. But really, it's kind of like one of these guys, either Gonsalves or Freeland, could be their first choice at either spot. So we'll kind of see what happens there. Sean Conkright in the chat. Welcome back, man. Good to see you, buddy. Shaquille saying it's going to be a good game for both teams. Yeah, I think so. I think that we're going to get a close game regardless of which way the result goes. H-Town Highlights asking if the Colts are worried about AR running too much and getting hurt. Heard Shane say that he's not going to take that away from him, but hopefully he's mindful of it. Give me 1 second. I have a golden retriever who wants to be a part of the show here. Yeah, I think we saw last night kind of an example of Lamar Jackson being this running quarterback who's getting all these snaps and kind of taking way more hits than you would expect, especially when he said he slimmed down this season. So you're kind of watching that Lamar Jackson will operate, and he's just taking all these hits. He's getting hit on scrambles. He's getting hit in the pocket, getting hit after he's throwing the ball. So he's kind of taking a heavy dose of contact. And I think that's just going to kind of add up. So you kind of want to see Anthony Richardson do exactly what Lamar Jackson didn't do last night. But yeah, I think you're still going to see design quarterback runs. I think maybe 8 to 10 a game. I think you might still see from him because you're not going to take that away. But yeah, I think you just have to imagine that Anthony Richardson knows that he needs to protect himself better after kind of the pain of not only the injury that he suffered with his shoulder last season, but just the mental pain of not being on the field and going out and seeing guys like CJ Stroud light it up while you're on the sidelines with an injury. Sarah's in the chat. Welcome back. Saying, why did Buffalo trade their pick to Kansas City for Worthy? You guys like talking about the Chiefs tonight, or the game last night. I guess that's kind of what happens when you go so long without an NFL game and then you finally get a taste of it. But yeah, you're talking about the trade for Worthy as a nightmare. Yeah, and you're excited to see AD Mitchell and Latu. I think, yeah, the rookies are going to be fun to watch for sure. If we're just talking about Xavier Worthy, it's the Bills traded their pick, yeah, and it's just going to be a meme just because that's what it was. And the Bills traded the same pick that allowed the Chiefs to get Patrick Mahomes when they did also. So you're kind of looking at the Bills and face palming double because of that. We'll see how Worthy does. I think last night was awesome to see him get that production and get those 2 touchdowns. Maybe not awesome if you're kind of hoping for the downfall of the Chiefs dynasty. But I think the 2 touchdowns that he had were like a really well executed and well designed jet sweep where he really didn't get touched. I think there's a couple of people in the league that would have been able to make that run just as easily. His crazy speed kind of helped him out there. You kind of saw the same thing last year from Jameson Williams on the Lions, a similar play. And then Worthy, that second touchdown was not because of Xavier Worthy. That was just a blown coverage where the corner was covering in the flat and thought he had a deep safety to help him out. So he let Worthy go, and there was no safety back there to pick him up. So you've got a wide open receiver, and Patrick Mahomes is going to see that 10 times out of 10. So he drilled him. That could have been, I would say, 90% of the players in the NFL, let alone the receivers. Rich in the chat saying AD looks pro ready. Yeah, that's what everyone's saying. That's what we saw in the preseason. I don't want to be a pessimist, or I don't want to be like raining on the parade when we talk about all these preseason guys that we've seen for the Colts, especially at receiver, who would kind of go off in the preseason then kind of disappear during the regular season. I don't think that's AD, but I think that's kind of always going to be in the back of my head until we kind of see that production in the regular season. So yeah, I think I was listening to the Athletic Football Show. Robert Mays was talking about how he was visiting with the Colts. People were talking about AD Mitchell and saying how the Colts are going to get credit for him because they drafted him. But I think that even the Colts kind of underestimated how good he was going to be when he came in. So he's been impressing even the Colts staff that believed in him enough to draft him. So we'll see what happens week 1 and then go from there. Patrick here, Black Freeland. Yeah, probably tackle 4. I think most people would hope. I think especially Patrick would hope. If not lower, right? Greg saying Lamar ran a lot last night. I was surprised at how many, maybe not the amount of runs that he had, but just the amount of times he got hit. I don't know if it's just an attitude thing where he's trying to kind of make a statement, because there was that one scramble around the right side where he just kind of lowers his shoulder into a group of 3 guys. It gains no extra yards, but just kind of pushes somebody off balance as he's going out of bounds. Definitely not the kind of play that you would want to see Anthony Richardson make, but I mean, maybe Lamar's kind of earned that right at this point in his career. Brandon saying, with the pun tonight. I appreciate that. Brandon saying Baltimore couldn't cut it. A half an inch, man. That's heartbreaking. Let's hope the Colts-Texans game doesn't end like that. Exciting, but heartbreaking for sure. Patrick saying Worthy barely touched the ball. One time was because the guy that blew coverage. Yep, that deep safety just wasn't there. Yeah, Patrick, you could have caught that. Yeah, I think my grandma's pushing 90 now. I think that's kind of the line that we're at, where she probably wouldn't have been able to do it, but maybe, right? Rashee Rice, yeah. A lot of talk about Rashee Rice just because of everything that went on in the offseason. Right, and you're kind of surprised that he came out week 1 and he's available and he's on the field. Some people will roll their eyes at that, but it is what it is. He was out there. He's catching a lot of slants, a lot of catch and runs. Kind of the kind of stuff that you've seen from what Michael Thomas in the past. Kind of what you hope to see from Michael Pittman, just a big body that can catch short passes, screens, slants, drags, and kind of take that and run with it, run through some defenders, get some extra yards. So yeah, kind of how they were using Rashee Rice there. I kind of hope that Michael Pittman gets that kind of run in week 1. Just easy, quick, decisive reads for Anthony Richardson to make, and then some yards after the catch after it. Sarah saying Kelsey was a non-factor. Yeah. Noah Gray, the other tight end. Yeah. So yeah, tight end fantasy owners of Mark Andrews and Travis Kelsey, I think, a little bit discouraged after that game. Just kind of how the usage was and how that second tight end kind of stepped up. But yeah, kind of cool to see multiple tight ends getting involved. I think that kind of game plan bodes well, especially in the Colts case where they don't have one of those superstar guys. I would say that Isaiah Likely and Mark Andrews are both going to be better than the. I'd rather have both than the top 2 of the Colts tight end room. But good to see multiple guys getting involved, and definitely something that I expect the Colts to do also. Patrick with the super chat. That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. Saying, am I the only one that that for giggles wants Steichen to dial up the same play the Texans scored first play on the Colts last year? with the Texans rookie secondary. Yeah, who do you think that ball's going to? That deep ball, is that an Alec Pierce ball? It's probably not a Michael Pittman ball. So that's either going to Alec Pierce or that's going to AD Mitchell on that deep post, right? Trying to attack that secondary. And no, I don't think you're the only one that wants that. Whether that hits or not, I think it'd be super fun to see Anthony Richardson come out swinging with his first snap of this year. Brandon saying Bills gave Worthy to the Chiefs and Diggs to the Texans. Who are they giving away next? I don't know who you want. It's a fire sale on the Bills. Who would you take? I've always been this is not a big name. I've always been a big Khalil Shakir fan, though. I don't really know what kind of role he'd play on the Colts offense. But just kind of a guy, that kind of mold of receiver is kind of always one that I've been kind of drawn to. Those quicker than fast guys that kind of have return ability also. Good hands, spectacular catch kind of guys. Well, you're thinking Antoine Randall, or some other guys like that. Reserve currency in the chat saying Lamar knows how to twist and contort his body when he lands. I don't think that's something you can teach an adult. You can teach toddlers in tumbling class that, I guess. But don't think AR knows how to do that stuff. Yeah, maybe you throw him in a tumbling class. I don't know what you do with AR, but yeah, Lamar's always been kind of good at when he's taken that contact. Maybe not even when he's landing, just kind of when he's taken that contact, just eking one way or the other, just giving it an inch to the left or the right to kind of not take the full force of it. So he's never like taken those huge hits. I think, yeah, that's something you don't see like that. That play where Anthony Richardson got his concussion last year when he's running into the end zone, just right as he's crossing the line, gets kind of hit while he's not expecting it. He takes that full force of that hit and then he slams his head on the back of the ground, or the back of his head on the ground. Yeah, I don't think that's not a kind of hit that you see Lamar Jackson take. So that's something that you want to see Anthony Richardson learn to do, kind of whether he's learning to slide or avoid contact altogether, or whether he's just a little bit better at taking those hits without taking the full force of them. Shaquille saying the Texans are going to be scared for the first game. You think that is what part of the Colts you think maybe their pass rush they'll be a little bit scared of? I think it's the Colts or the Texans defense that's going to be scared. Sarah saying she wants us to draft Lachey from Iowa, the tight end, and Malachi Stokes, the safety from Georgia next year. Sarah, the season has not even kicked off yet, and you're already digging into the college prospects for next year. I'm not even doing that yet. I know the names, but I don't know. I don't have any evaluations on any of these guys. So, I mean, if you say they're good, I'll trust you there for now. But yeah, you're thinking safety and tight end, definitely two positions you imagine going into the offseason next year. The Colts are going to be maybe looking for upgrades, or they don't have that star power right now. So unless someone really comes out and emerges as kind of a star player, maybe that's Nick Cross in the secondary. Maybe it's a guy like Will Mallory that kind of emerges as kind of the star starting kind of guy. Then yeah, unless that happens, which I don't necessarily think that's super likely, then yeah, maybe they want to target one of those positions for an early round pick. Sarah's all about the tight ends, though, saying Dalton Kincaid would be cool from the Bills. Yeah, kind of underwhelming last year, but yeah, you've used that potential as a receiving threat for Dalton Kincaid. And yeah, while we like Kylan Granson over here, I'm not sure Kylan Granson's ever going to be that guy that's really kind of a chess piece for the Colts offense that kind of makes defenses scared. Patrick going back to that play that he talked about, dialing up that deep post, saying it would have to be AD with Stingley probably lined up against, Derek Stingley. I would probably try to avoid throwing to him most of the time. Mitchell's speed and separation could blow up a linebacker and catch a safety off guard. Yeah, I think so, man. So you're having him run that. Are you running him from the slot where he's lined up against a safety or a linebacker, or is he going to be outside against a corner? Because he's going to be taking a lot of slot snaps, but that press conference that Chris Ballard gave, he was talking about how Alec Pierce has been super impressive in camp and could play inside or outside. We'll see if they actually try that or not. But yeah, maybe we see some of Pierce in the slot and Mitchell on the outside. Rich saying Tyler Goodson for the game-winning touchdown on a 4th down pass, please. Well, let's leave the drama out of it, Rich. Let's just get Tyler Goodson a touchdown. It doesn't have to be on 4th down. It doesn't have to be game-winning. We just let him get in the end zone, redeem himself, get a nice fresh start to the season. I'd like to see that for a guy that really, that situation sucked last year for him, and just kind of hope that he starts off this season on the right foot and kind of get that put behind him. So Colts fans that all, when they hear the name Tyler Goodson, they're just not automatically thinking about that 4th and 1 that he dropped, and you kind of want him to get a nice play under his belt so people can start to move on. Shaquille just saying yes. Yeah, the Texans defense is going to be scared of Anthony Richardson. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the one game that Anthony Richardson played against the Texans, the Colts came out fired. I mean, they caught him off guard. I think that's kind of one advantage that the Colts have, is they do kind of still have that element of surprise, just with how little we've seen Anthony Richardson on the field. What was it, around 200 snaps last year? So just, I think at least for the first few games, you're going to see defenses still trying to learn how to react to Anthony Richardson. So you kind of want to see Anthony Richardson go out, get some of that progress, learn from his mistakes early, and kind of take some aggressive shots, because I do think that we do have the element of surprise going into these first few games. Sarah saying she has CJ Stroud and Tank Dell in my fantasy league, though. Yeah, CJ Stroud always going to be a good pick. I think for the next 10 years, you're going to be safe picking CJ Stroud at quarterback. I'm kind of never the guy that goes quarterback early, and I think you can kind of get CJ Stroud-like numbers, at least fantasy-wise, later in the draft. But Tank Dell, for sure, I was targeting him. He got in the work league that I was doing. He got taken a couple picks before me. So. Price in the chat. Say Nick Cross better have 7 interceptions for taking out Josh Downs this week. Hey, if the Colts, I don't even think Nick Cross needs to have any kind of impact. If the Colts can still pull out a W without Josh Downs, and Josh Downs is back next week, as long as Nick Cross isn't abysmal and a complete liability back there, I'd say all is forgiven. We just need to get through the tough games without Josh Downs. Hopefully it's just this week. The next week is going to be another tough game against the Green Bay Packers, so you want him back for that. If the Colts can handle themselves all right without Josh Downs in the lineup, then I think we're okay. Patrick saying he wants AD to get a touchdown to match up with Worthy's. Oh, yeah, because the Texas rivalry there, just old teammate rivalry, has to put the fact to rest that he is the better wide receiver coming out of Texas. Yeah, man, I'm not sure he's getting 2. I think that's super ambitious to look, so I think he's going to be starting the year a little bit behind him. But yeah, I would like to see him maybe a more impressive touchdown. I know Worthy's was kind of that great speed on that end around, but I'm not really chalking up that blown coverage that Worthy had to being a feat of athleticism or a savvy really play by Worthy. He was in the right spot and he made the play, so you give him credit for that, and you give him credit for having the talent to be in the starting lineup in the first place. But yeah, I think I want to see AD kind of muscle his way into the end zone or get a contested catch or just kind of obliterate somebody on a route and get that touchdown. Even without a touchdown, if you see him doing that a couple times this game where he's leaving some defenders in the dust, I'd be really excited. Price saying, do you think AD was being used in the slot because he's the best slot backup, or just AD getting on the field any way possible? I kind of think the latter, right? I think maybe he's the best slot backup just because he's one of the most talented receivers. I don't think slot's ever going to be his primary position until maybe later in his career if he starts to lose a step. So I think that with Josh Downs going down, you see Pierce, Pittman, and AD Mitchell. You kind of aren't really caring who's playing where. You'd want those 3 on the field. So I think, yeah, AD is getting the benefit of the doubt just because he's proven himself as that one of those top 4 guys. So they're going to put him on the field if they have the opportunity to, and the spot opens up with Josh Downs going down. So I think you kind of give Mitchell the first crack at proven if he can't do it, or proven if he can or can't do it, before you kind of move on to Gold in the backup spot. who's also a rookie. So I think it was kind of easy making that decision and giving Mitchell that spot. Because while Gould's been working at it, it's not like he's some reliable veteran that's been there for years. So you're not really feeling like you're taking a risk by putting the rookie in. Patrick, in one of your fantasy leagues, it's an entire AFC South team, which I think could be pretty good, right? If you get all the right pieces. Richardson, JT, Tank, ETN, Nico, Kirk, Ingram. Yeah. It's not a horrible. There is definitely some star power in the AFC South at this point. So, I mean, Nico and Tank for sure. It sucks that they're on the same team fantasy wise because they're kind of competing for those snaps or those targets. So it sucks that those two are on the same team, and those are kind of the two of the best receivers. But yeah, I mean, just based off of pure like point projections, I think that's probably not too bad. Patrick asking who we think will step into wide receiver 4 with Downs out. Doolin or Gould? I think it's going to be Doolin, right? Just with how willing they were immediately when Josh Downs went down to put A.D. Mitchell in the slot, I think it means that they aren't super sold on Gould in like a full-time starting role. I think you're still going to see him get snaps, maybe have a couple of plays designed where you kind of want to get him some touches. But just the fact that they didn't immediately go with Gould in the slot, I think means that he's a little bit lower on the depth chart. Now, Doolin hasn't played offense with Steichen's coaching staff, so you're not kind of sure how he's kind of stacking up against these other guys in Shane Steichen's eyes or this offensive staff's eyes. But I think if you're going into week 1 of the season, you have Josh Downs go down and you've got a rookie or a veteran who kind of, I feel like you can just trust him a little bit more. So I think he's going to get the benefit of the doubt going in the lineup before Gould. Price wonders if Steichen will be running special teams out there, then running the offense out quickly to see if coaches burn a timeout. Oh, so that was a fun little chess move that he was doing, or a maneuver that he was doing last year. Whether it's that or whether it's something else, I think he's always going to be trying to get those competitive advantages. Just trying to fudge some things. So I do kind of hope that we see something tricky. If it's that, maybe other teams aren't going to fall for it just because they know it's coming. So maybe he's not pulling that again. But yeah, I'd like to see him try. I just kind of want to see whatever creative things he can come up with. Brandon asking me for fantasy advice. I'll just say this straight up. I'm going to give you this fantasy advice, Brandon, but I don't know if I'd trust myself with it. I'm not a prolific fantasy football player. So take this for what you will. I'll give you my thoughts, but don't blame me if they're wrong. He's saying, who do you pick versus bench this weekend? Tank Dell versus Devontae Smith. All right. Oh man, just because the Colts secondary weak, I feel like Tank Dell's going to have a game. I feel like Stephon Diggs going to take a little bit of time to get acclimated to the Colts offense, or to the Texans offense. Sorry. So I think Tank Dell's really going to get a lot of targets. Devontae Smith's probably also, but we'll see. We'll kind of see how the Eagles offense recovers. I'm a little bit hesitant on the Eagles offense just because how they ended last year. And then this new staff that they've got, I think that maybe will take a little bit of time to ramp up. But I think going into year 2 with the same offensive staff, CJ Stroud and Tank Dell, I think they're going to be a good link up for a while. So I think they're the safer pick in week 1 at least. Yeah, Patrick saying just wasn't sure with how well Flacco talked up Gould in camp. Yeah, I like to see that, especially coming out of Flacco, who I feel like has been a little bit more hesitant. Kind of when he got signed on, you're talking about being that mentor backup role. He's just kind of outwardly saying it's not his job to mentor Anthony Richardson, which I think is fair, and I don't think we should hold that against him. But kind of that personality kind of coming out and talking up a guy like Gould, I think that's good to see. But yeah, I think every staff that's been here in the organization has loved Ashton Doolin. So he's gotten his fair share of a talk up. Maybe it hasn't been from this staff or this regime. But I think Ashton Doolin, it's way too early to bury him on the depth chart until we see something otherwise. Maybe in practice they haven't seen kind of that explosiveness out of Doolin coming back from that Achilles injury. So maybe he's not the same guy he's been. But at this point, yeah, I'm saying Doolin over Gould. Yeah, football is back. Shaquille, I'm excited to kind of see. I was on live on Wednesday, going through with these guys and getting score predictions. I do want to see yours, Shaquille. I want to see a Texans fan perspective on how you think the game's going to go. Probably saying Eagles missed Steichen badly. Yeah, they missed Steichen badly. They missed Gannon badly. Just kind of a brain drain that went on in that Eagles front office. So makes you feel good about Steichen as a hire. All right, LVN DNV saying keep Sam Ehlinger warmed up on the sidelines. He might need to jump in if fragile Tony Richardson falls down. Well, we've got Flacco as the primary backup who will be ready to go, but then you're banking on that 38, 39. Is he 39 yet? That guy to stay healthy throughout the game also. So yeah, this third quarterback rule, he'll be probably inactive. So he won't be listed amongst the game day active roster. But he'll be able to come in if Anthony Richardson and Joe Flacco go down. So if Anthony Richardson does go down, they're not going to be turning to Ehlinger immediately, just because by rule he can't, or they can't, unless they make him on the active roster, which they don't expect. So you'll have to see both of them go down, but still, I mean, not entirely impossible. We've seen that happen before, namely with the 49ers, hence the rule. All right, guys, this is probably going to be a little bit shorter show tonight. So one more time, I know some of you guys were here in the chat. I appreciate you guys coming back, by the way. Some of you guys were here on Wednesday going over your predictions. So this isn't going to be a score prediction here that we're throwing up, unless you haven't given that. I do want to see Shaquille's. But anything else you guys kind of want to put on the record that you think is going to happen, this is your last chance before the game actually happens. Anything particularly bold that does come through, we'll shout out on the next show when I go live on Tuesday. So give me any other bold predictions you guys have got. Kind of how I see it playing out. I think the first two possessions are going to be touchdowns. I think the Colts offense is going to score 7 on their first drive. I think the Texans offense is going to score 7 on their first drive. I think, like I talked about, the element of surprise and just kind of how Colts came out with Anthony Richardson against the Texans last year. I think those scripted plays, I think we're going to see a really strong scripted drive from both offensive staffs. And I don't think that the defenses on either side is really going to be able to stop that. But we'll kind of go through those drives, and then I think it'll slow down a little bit. I'm going to guess probably 1 rushing touchdown and 1 passing touchdown for Anthony Richardson. Probably an interception thrown in there as well, because I'm ready to ride the roller coaster. We've got, what else have we got? I think CJ Stroud probably throw in for 3. I'm not super scared of Joe Mixon. I know he's a good back, good ad for them, but I'm way more worried about the passing attack there. So I'm guessing 3 touchdowns for CJ Stroud. I'm not sure if we'll come up with a pick or not. But my end of score prediction, I'm not going to give it on this podcast because we're actually doing an article where all the guys over here at Horseshoe Huddle, speaking of guys over at Horseshoe Huddle, Drake Wally, pop it in the chat. But we're going through a roundtable where we're all kind of giving our predictions on how the game's going to go. So that's going to be coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's Saturday. That's going to be coming out tomorrow. So you guys can kind of see all of our predictions of how we think things are going to go down in that article that comes out tomorrow. Drake, I'll get back to you 1 second. Shaquille saying Houston Texans 28, scoring 28 for the win. Yeah, I can see it, man. I'm not going to say that's out of the realm of possibility. I think 28 is a pretty good number to look at for maybe both teams. Drake saying he hopes it doesn't come down to Schrader. We all love a game that comes down to kickers, Drake. Saying, I know he has ability, but man, hell of a game to start your undrafted career. Man, and kind of a guy that coming out of college wasn't super accurate as a kicker. That's not a guy that you want to lean on. I don't think you want to come down to Schrader. I don't think you want it to come down to Gay if he's in the game either, right? Because you're still kind of worried about any lingering pain or stiffness and kind of his motion that he's not back in the rhythm of things. So Yeah, I think it's going to be such a close game that it's going to come down to kicks at some point. I don't know if it's going to be that last drive, but I do think if there's a missed kick, whether it's an extra point or a field goal, I think that is going to be a big turning point in the game with how close it's going to be. Sean saying Latu's finishing with 2 sacks. Mitchell gets first TUD. Yep. I'm okay with that. I wouldn't be surprised if Latu gets 2 sacks. I think maybe most rookies that are coming in, you're not expecting that. I think that would be a crazy thing to expect for a lot of rookies, but just kind of the vibes that we've been getting off a Latu and how the staff feels about him, how impressed with everybody, or how much he's impressed everybody. I wouldn't be surprised, man. Yeah, Drake's qualifying that with if Gay isn't playing. But yeah, but like I said, I'm not sure we're trusting Gay at this point either. Not that I think I was never one of these guys in the boat that we were like, move on from Matt Gay because he's been struggling in preseason. I didn't know about the injury. I didn't know anything was going on behind the scenes. But a couple of his misses did come with Schrader holding for him, who's never held before. So I was willing to give him the benefit of the doubt there, and I wasn't getting super worried about the preseason. And also, I kind of know that the guys that you're picking up, if you like have an emergency at kicker and you need to go get somebody off the street, I'm not trusting them either. So I was okay riding with Matt Gay, especially with the amount of money that was put into him and kind of his track record of what he's been able to do. But coming straight off of a hernia, I'm not sure I trust him at this point right now. Just give him a couple weeks. Just kind of hope it doesn't come down to the kicking. Greg doing the opposite of me, saying he sees a blowout, just not sure which way. Come on, Greg. You got to give me a team if you're giving me that prediction. I'm not going to hold you to it. I just want to see what you're thinking, man. I've had this depth chart that was published over here on horseshoehuddle.com just up on the screen this whole time, and we just kind of didn't talk about it. I was going to go over the defensive ends. Latu's listed as a backup. Not sure if that's accurate. I'll kind of adjust this next week. This depth chart will be coming out every week. I'll kind of adjust it based on the snap counts and the roles that we see going through week 1. Everything else kind of on defense is what we've expected. Nick Cross playing back there at free safety. Julian Blackman at strong safety. Like I mentioned here in the article, you guys can go read that on horseshoehuddle.com. But I mentioned I don't think it really matters what you kind of label those safety positions as, because they're going to be bouncing back and forth, at least from what I'm guessing. Maybe one will be stuck at free and one will be stuck at strong, and that's how they'll roll. But I do kind of expect them to be interchangeable. Reserve currency also agreeing with Greg about the blowout. I'm surprised, guys. Saying one team will make a lot of early mistakes. Yeah, I think, unfortunately, I think the one more likely to do that is the Colts, just with how young they are, both on the defensive back end and with Anthony Richardson and his inexperience at quarterback. I know CJ Stroud's in his second year like Anthony Richardson, but Stroud had a ton more experience in college and got a whole season under his belt last season, while Anthony Richardson didn't. So, yeah, I mean, if this is accurate and one team's going to make a lot of early mistakes and it's going to be a blowout, I worry about the Colts in that situation. All right, though, guys. I think that's going to be it for me tonight. Be sure to subscribe to the Horseshoe Huddle YouTube channel here. We've got the game on Sunday, but then after that, I think Andrew and Drake will be going live with the Horseshoe Huddle podcast on Monday night. I will be back on Tuesday night, and we'll kind of go over the games. Each of us will. So subscribe, hit that notification so you know when we go live. You can come be a part of that conversation. You can follow me on Twitter. Any questions that I get on Twitter, at Noah Gebert, or I guess X. If you want to shoot that over to me, I will answer those in the next live. Also, I'll keep those on file. My DMs are open. You can tweet at me. That way, if you're not here for the next live show, you can still get a question in. I can answer it. You can come back and watch the recording. So we can do that also. Then follow at Colts On _SI to really stay up to date with all the Colts coverage and all the guys over here at Horseshoe Huddle. We were talking in the Slack today. We had 6 stories go up from 6 different authors here over at horseshoehuddle.com. So you've got a lot of different content coming at you with a lot of different perspectives. So go check that out, guys. All right. Hey, you guys have a good night. Enjoy the game in Sao Paulo tonight, and enjoy the game on Sunday. I appreciate you guys. See ya.